Right on. Will you send me the video when you're done?
Yeah.
In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. And Lord, we know that politics doesn't save us. Your Son is the one who saves us. But we also know we can't be good citizens unless we're civically involved and we pay attention to what our leaders are doing and make good decisions about who we elect to office. And we thank you for the freedom and the opportunity and the liberty to do that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, now we can sit down. Okay, first of all, I'd like to really thank everyone that came today. This is very great to have you here and to listen to at least two of our people that are going to be in charge in November 5th. So, we will start out. I'm going to introduce each of the candidates, and they will have 5 minutes to give you a little bit about themselves or whatever they want for opening comments. Now, candidates, when you turn on your mic, push it all the way to the top, and then put it really close to your mouth when you talk. Okay, so first we'll start to my left. We'll have Ron Eyrig. Yeah, stand up there. No, you got it. That's why you have a mic. You can just stand up and talk to us.
Okay, there. Gotta keep it close.
Very close.
Very close. Can you hear me now? All right. First and foremost, my name is Ron Eyrig, running for District 3 County Commissioner. I'd like to thank the Dallesport Community Council for hosting this. Also, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up this evening. It's good to have a good turnout. Probably to start off, kind of tell you my background, my family. My wife Liz and I were married in '85. When we were married, we lived in White Salmon for about 9 months, and then we moved to Goldendale. I was working for the public utility. We have 2 daughters. They're both married. We have great son-in-laws and two beautiful grandsons, one from each of the kids. So that's excellent. Kind of give you my background. 1992, I served as mayor of Goldendale. 93 to 96, I did serve as county commissioner for District 3. And I did not run for re-election. I served after that on the hospital from 2005 to 2011. And then I did get back on the hospital board on 22 to presently. I'm a hospital commissioner at this type of KVH. I worked at the BUD from 1979 to 2016. So I've been retired 8 years from Klickitat County BUD. At that, I did my apprenticeship through the BUD as IBW 125, journeyman, electrician. I worked on the line crew for 20 years, and then after that, I moved up into management as a line superintendent over line crew, and then I moved up and worked with the water wastewater department, and then moved up and worked with the landfill gas. When I retired from the PUD, I retired as the chief operating officer. Community service, I've been involved in the community with the Klickitat County Fair Board. I've basically been involved. I was on it from 97 to 2010. Then I was off for a while, and then I got back on in 2019, and I'm still on the Klickitat County Fair Board now. Also involved, my wife and I are members of the Grace Brethren Community Church in Goldendale. We've been members for over 40 years. We've been there a lot of years. And they haven't kicked me out yet. So that's a win. Been a member of the Goldendale Country Club for over 20 years. And a member of the American Legion. I'm a son of American Legion. I'm not an American Legion, but a son on that. I'm my education, like I said, I was IBW journeyman lineman. I did go back to school to Portland Community College and finished my Associate of General Studies. I've served on several boards with the county, the Board of Adjustment, after I served as a commissioner right there, and the commissioners appointed me to the Board of Adjustment. I was on the Simcoe Manor Housing, so I was involved when we built the senior housing in Goldell off Simcoe Drive. So a lot of people ask, why did I run? I get a lot of that question. Well, one, I feel if you're going to live in a community, you need to be involved. That's why I've been on the fair board. That's why I've been on the hospital board. I felt it's really difficult when the county commissioners are not getting along. They have to work as a team, because when they're not getting along, things don't happen. Not as much things happen. I lived in Klickitat County most of my life, pretty much most all of it. I believe in Klickitat County. I love Klickitat County. I always thought, where can you go fish in the afternoon and hunt elk in the next day? I love Klickitat County. That's all I can say. And when I see when a team doesn't work, we don't work. There's some other items why I didn't, why I got involved, but we'll talk about that a little later. Anyhow, thank you very much.
My name is Dan Christopher. I won't go through my entire life history. This is my wife of close to 30 years now. I know, right? God, I'm old. Sitting in front of you. We do have 2 kids that do not live in the county. I do not have any other relations in the county. We are fairly new. We moved here 8 years ago. For the last 20 plus years, my profession has been a fishing guide. So I run large boats on the Columbia River and the Willamette River, and I sit there holding a trolling motor and BS with people all day and then carry home $1,000 a day. Why I gave that up to do this? Good question. I probably should have my head examined because this is far more stress, which my heart attack and my 3 stints can prove, and far less pay. But why I do this is because with the fishing guide, I would take the winter off because I don't want to be out in the winter anymore, and I didn't need the money to work in the winter. So I would go sit in the county commissioner meetings every single week for years because politics interests me, and I want to make sure my elected officials are actually serving me. What I found out, or what my opinion was in that 2 years, is that our elected officials were not serving the people. They were serving the special people, which I still believe is a major problem we have today. It comes down to whoever gives the campaign donation to the candidate. Then when we have a public bid or a public contract, that person wins the public contract, or that person gets approval for a road approach, or that person gets a rubber stamp. I'm sorry, it's good old boy. And it was, and unfortunately in 3.5 years now that I've been in office, I can't fix it. I'm on vote. You're gonna have to stop electing people that have names on street signs if you want it fixed. So I won't get into all of that, but I will say that in my 3.5 years, every single vote I make is a vote for the people. Every single vote I make is it's a Dallesport issue, what would the people of Dallesport want me to do? Because I'm here to represent you. I'm not here to represent my friend. I'm not here to represent the PUD or my business development or change county policies so I can make more money in my personal life. Unfortunately, in doing that, I'm challenging the establishment. I was challenging the establishment when I ran for office 4 years ago, and my opponent was my opponent's campaign manager. And he might disagree with this, but I heard 6 months after my opponent lost that election, I was hearing rumblings that he was running against me. Doesn't surprise me. They want back in power, and they don't want people like me telling you what's going on. so that you might actually fix it. Because it is going to take you. I very much appreciate that you're all here and you're paying attention, but you actually have to pay attention to the meetings. You have to go watch, read the minutes, see how the commissioners vote. Because for far too much we're all lumped into the saying, oh, those damn commissioners did this again. Doesn't mean it was a unanimous vote. Maybe I'm the bad guy. Maybe I'm the good guy. You need to go look. If you're paying attention, there's less chance of corruption. What I have accomplished in the 3.5 years is transparency. No more good old boy backroom deals behind closed doors. You shine the flashlight on and the cockroaches start scurrying. We now Zoom our meetings. They're now recorded. We now are officially, this was the first one, we're doing it with Thursdays as well, including budgets. Everything's gonna be out in the open. Now this scares people that don't want you to know what's going on, but that is a good thing for you whether I'm here or not here. There's a lot of other things that I've done that are good, but I don't want to take all my time, and I wasn't planning on even using the 5 minutes, so she scared me with her 30-second sign. Let's just say you'll learn more about it as we go. I'm always open. If you have questions, call me, email me. I'll drive to your house and drink lemonade on your porch, and we'll have a discussion. With that, I'm going to quit before she says stop.
Todd Andrews.
Do you guys mind if I stay seated? I tore my meniscus a little bit ago, but I can stand for most of this if need be. But hello, Klickitat County citizens and patriots. I consider you guys patriots for coming and watching over what's going on in your county. I really appreciate that. My name's Todd Andrews. I'm running for county commissioner. See, I moved to this area about 30 years ago. Met my sweetheart at Walt Disney World. We moved here, and my career is basically broken down into thirds. For about the first 10 years, I ran Loafer's Old World Bakery there in Bingen, and we expanded from just Bingen. We did a baking facility in Stevenson, Washington, and then we did a few coffee houses. One of a lot of you remember the Creamery up in White Salmon. And then the next 10 years, basically, I got something called white lung and couldn't bake as much and had 2 kids and another on the way. So started just doing consulting, helping other people open bakeries around the world. Also, I forgot to say with Loafers, we had 32 employees at the max. And then the next 10 years, I started consulting, helping other people open bakeries. Part of that consulting and employment was with King Arthur Flour and with Pendleton Flour Mills. And then the last 10 years, I've done some bakery consulting, but mostly it's been building houses. I'm a licensed contractor in the area, and new houses and remodels. So, as far as why I wanted to run for county commissioner, there was a group of us, and then the reason I thanked you guys as being patriots and standing guard is because basically until 5 years ago, I kind of had my eyes shut. I mean, my civic duty was basically on voting day. I'd come and I'd read the pamphlet, and it was very important for me to vote, but I was not going to board meetings. I was not going to school board meetings. I was not paying attention, and I realize now that it takes more than just voting. It takes being involved more than that. So there was a group of us that we were starting to pay attention, and we were looking, we'd have candidates come out, and we were looking for someone to run for county commissioner. Because we started to, as paying attention, we're like, I don't believe the decisions they're making are fiscally wise, which is not uncommon in government. But then beyond that, it seemed worse than that. It seemed like every 2 to 3 years they do something disastrous that impacts, generational. Like you look at what they're doing in the jail now. You look at what they're doing. The contracts they set up for the windmills. You look at our landfill dollars. I mean, there's some big decisions. Every budget's important, but then every few years, there's very large decisions that you can't really change, and they have generational kind of impact. So those things are very important. That's why I decided to run. When I was asking people, they're like, well, "Why don't you run?" And I'm like, No. That is not my thing. Politics, no. And they're like, well, that's why you should run, And people told me that enough, and I'm like, Okay, I guess not wanting to run is what, it was basically, I don't have money, I don't have a huge swath of land. All my funding is coming from small donations in the county. I'm not taking any outside funding. And I don't have any big development that I want to do. I don't have friends that have a big development that they want to do. And so I spent the last several months, besides the last 5 years, the last several months intensely reaching out to Democrats, Republicans, independents, people that on paper kind of hate my guts or they get a little upset when they talk to me, but I'm like, together I really believe that we can make these decisions, and that if we respect each other's personal property rights and personal rights, then we make those decisions. We make sure some outside corporation isn't going to come in here and just develop our land with solar and just fill it all out. And they're not going to come in here and put in these corporate things or things that are not going to help the citizens of Klickitat County. If we're all focused on that, it doesn't matter if you're left or right or center or whatever. If you're looking out for your neighbors' rights and for the county's rights overall, then things are good. So, thank you.
Amanda Kitchens.
Hello everyone. I am thrilled to see such a large room, and thank you Dallesport for hosting. My name is Amanda Kitchens and I'm running for County Commissioner of District 1. This is my first candidate forum. I'm not a politician and I'm not here to be a politician. I'm here to be in service to the people in county that raised me. I'm a 4th generation White Salmon resident. My grandmother was raised in Bingen and worked at the Mount Adams packing house. My grandfather was a legendary logger out of Mount Adams and retired from SD&S. I was raised by my mother, Christy, an elementary teacher, 1st grade at Whitson Elementary for 31 years, and my father, Greg, a logger turned contractor and volunteer firefighter for 27 years with the White Salmon Fire Department. I grew up learning the value of hard work, service, and community, and these values have served me well in my adult life. In 1999, I graduated from Columbia High School, and it was time for me to explore. I moved to New York, met a man, we fell in love. We moved to Seattle, we started a family, and we started a business. We decided to move that family and that business to Los Angeles. And it was all fun exploring, but my heart was always in White Salmon. I was trying to figure out how to move back. Luckily, almost 10 years ago, I was able to return to White Salmon with my husband and 2 preteens in tow. It was important to us that our children know what it's like to be raised in a small community, so they could learn the same values that we learned. Immediately, when I arrived, I got involved. I became a board member at the Mountain View Grange. I volunteered in the schools, sports teams, local nonprofits. I started a business that supported local makers, sawyers, and mills. It felt really good to be back, and some things felt familiar, but man, had things changed. And we knew that change is coming fast. We can all feel it. So I knew I wanted to get involved on a deeper level. In January, with a blessing from my family, I decided to run for county commissioner. In February, I threw my name in the hat and started my listening tour. I've been to 30 Board of County Commissioner meetings. I've had endless conversations with citizens. I've sat down with firefighters and police officers, directors, employees, elected officials, past and present in our county. I've met with regional nonprofit organizations. I've just been learning so much, and there's so much more to learn. I know that our county faces challenges. We all know that. But at the end of every day, and I have been working at this every day, I come home feeling more hopeful. I'm inspired by the people that I meet that are having great ideas and sharing their worries. I know that we have what it takes as a community to come together and face these challenges head on. Sorry, I'm just so nervous. One of the first things that I really want to focus on as county commissioner is being supportive in the updating of our comprehensive plan that hasn't been updated since 1970. We as a community need to be thinking what we want our county to look and feel like in the next 50 to 100 years. And this document can help us. It can help us honor our history, protect our natural resources and our agricultural lands while laying out a plan for the future. The role of county commissioner is one of leadership. They set the tone for the county. I'm confident I have what it takes to be a great commissioner. I am a hard worker. I am a hard worker. I am a great listener, and I am a bridge builder. I look forward to your questions.
Last year, there was a discussion about raising taxes, and one commissioner was looking to put that to a vote of the people. Now, it can be increased by 1% per year with no vote. But some commissioners lobbying to increase 1% to 3% with no vote. Are you in favor of this? And we will start with Ron. Go ahead.
Yeah, try not to get you to repeat that.
Are you turned on?
Can you hear me?
Get it all the way up. Rest it on your lip.
On my lip.
Yeah.
Can you hear me on this one a little better?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Last year, I'm not 100% sure on the question. I know last year on November 21st, there was a vote from the county commissioners on the levy and the budget at the same time. Also, within that resolution was the passing of the budget, and the 1% was included in that. The 1% is usually discussed ahead of time, whether you want to include that or not. The 3% was in the state legislature, did not pass the state legislature to allow taxing districts to increase it from 1% to 3%. But the 1% should be discussed. Other than my opponent, he didn't vote for the levy at all. He didn't have that discussion. He didn't vote for the levy. His goal was to shut county government down. That was November 21st.
Thank you. Dan?
Do I get 1 minute or am I 3 minutes? Which one?
If you want to do a rebuttal, 1 minute, go right ahead.
I do, because this is a very in-depth topic that I don't know how I'm going to get to in 3 minutes to get you to fully understand it. So Ron is right, you do get 1%, but you get 1% plus new construction. Last year we had the Lund Hill Solar Project go online, and again, I apologize if I'm talking fast, I'm trying to get 3 minutes. Lund Hill Solar Project went online. That new construction was about $120,000. The problem with green energy is we currently have a green energy tax shift, so any of these green energy projects that go online, they depreciate out over time, which means they eventually don't pay taxes and you pay what they were paying. That only happens if you accept the 1%, the new budget bump, the new construction bump. So if you do not accept that 1% of the new construction budget bump on the year the project goes into place, last year, there will never be a tax shift for you to end up having to pay the taxes on that solar farm. That's why I voted no. There's 2 commissioners that voted yes. You will eventually be paying for the taxes on that solar farm. It's not my fault if Ron doesn't understand this. You probably should elect someone that does understand this and is trying through the state legislature to fix the tax shift so that you're not on the hook for any future ones. That's my 1% rebuttal, or 1 minute rebuttal.
1 minute rebuttal, okay. Now, you can go ahead and talk 3 minutes.
Why, thank you, sir. Glad to be here. Strategy. So anyway, now that you understand the 1% plus new construction, let's just call it the Democrat-controlled cities and counties in the state are pushing to change that to 3%. that was limited to 1% by voter initiative 20 years ago. So not only can the county commissioners raise your taxes 1% plus new construction, but so can the water district, the cemetery district, the hospital district, the fire district. They can all just take max out of there. So now figure out what your taxes went up last year. That might be $250 in increase. It could be $500. Let's just call that. We are currently the only Republican county in the state on a 2-to-1 vote. My seatmates that are sitting there and me voting no, to lobby the state legislature to allow taxing districts to take 3% without a vote of the people. So whatever your tax increase was last year, $250 or $500, triple it if that goes through. And then compound it every year. They don't want to ask you for more money, they want to take it without permission. We are currently the only Republican county that's in favor of that. I know because I sat on the Wasatch board and I had to vote yes because the Board of Commissioners was a yes. I was damn near in tears over it. And feel free to ask Amanda McKinney or any of the other commissioners that brought it up afterwards. It will devastate you. Your tax increases will skyrocket, and I will promise you on January 1st, if you give me a second vote, I will go to Wasatch. That passed by 1 vote. Klickitat County. We are the only thing pushing that forward. On January 1st, that can be repealed at Wasatch. They will then label it dead, and Wasatch will no longer be lobbying the legislature to give taxing jurisdictions like the hospital board the ability to tax you at 3% without a vote of the people. But I need a second vote because I can't do it alone. Thank you.
Well, I'm moving to Texas, so I'll see. Okay, so Todd, tell us what you think.
Yeah, no, this came up in talking to some of the county commissioners and some of the people, I think it was 3 weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks ago that this was kind of brought to my attention. You guys know how much your taxes have been increasing over this period. And talking with several of the people, I have a buddy of mine. Okay, there we go.
Oh, there it is.
Check.
We all agree with that.
We all agree with that one. I agree with Dan on that. Okay.
All right, now I can. So, 3 weeks ago, thank you, Amanda. Well, that's not where I was in my head. Basically, if you've lived in this area at least 30 years, there's probably some of you in this room that if you paid off your house or close to it, your taxes are close to what your mortgage used to be. Because I know there's a lot of people like that. Our property values have gone up so much, and part of that's great. Your property values have gone up, but if you want to stay in this area and live in this area, now all of a sudden your taxes are more than your mortgage used to be, then you can't retire here. Your kids can't move here, be here. So basically, real estate appreciation should pretty much, it pretty much stays in line with inflation. So the government should pretty much be able to come close to living just off that. But we have a 1% on top of that. So that should definitely cover it. So making it 3% without a vote of the people, to me, is just insane. You guys should be able to decide that for yourselves. And there's times when we can raise money, or we can get together as a community and decide we want to do something special, and we have fundraisers. Sherman County does an amazing job of this. They do giant fundraisers all the time, and they do not do levies. They do not raise the taxes. They do not pay. They split with other counties their 911 call center. There's a lot of ways that we can lower our tax burden. We don't have a tax problem. We have a spending problem. The government will spend as much money as you give them. And I guarantee you give them 3% this year, give them 5%, they'll spend it. They will 100% spend it. And you'll get a new road, a giant multi-million-dollar road that we got in the last couple of years that only serves a few houses. So there's a lot of issues, but I don't think we should be raising the taxes without the people's vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda? Well, please, no clap.
Hello. Okay, you can hear. So, right out the gate, taxes. Now you can. Right out the gate, taxes are not my specialty, but I can tell you from talking to a lot of people, I am fully aware and growing up here with the socioeconomic divide. Our people cannot afford these drastic raises in taxes. I understand a little bit that yes, they can increase by one, and I know that our county has lost a lot of funds with the losing of 2 contracts at the solid waste facility. But when you're thinking about jumping taxes by 3%, that's drastic. And I think Todd's right, that does really hurt families. And that is something that we do need as a people to be able to have our voices heard. It is going to be hard moving forward, trying to come up with creative avenues for money. And I do think that there's some opportunities out there that aren't going to go on the residents. Thank you.
All right, okay, so the next question card is to a specific candidate, Ron Eyring. Are you ready? Have you had any relationship with KPUD, even though I know you just said you did? If so, what did it involve?
Relationship with KPUD. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay, like I said before, I worked at Klickitat County PUD for 37 years. Like I said, started as a lineman for 20 years and then moved up into management. Within management, like I said earlier, I don't know how we kind of answered the question earlier, but by the time I was done, I worked with the water wastewater. Actually, I worked with Tim McMurray. Bless his soul. Yes. Yeah. Then I worked with the landfill gas. I got to work on fixing the cleaning system for the combustion turbines. Continued all the way through working with line crews, all the way supervised them. Then I was over the engineering, accounting, all the departments in the PUD except the power management department and HR.
Okay, thank you.
1 minute.
Are you rebutting him? Were you with him at the KPUD?
Do I have?
I guess. That's what it says. You get 1 minute if you like it.
I'm a stickler for the rules.
Yes, you are.
I didn't get a chance to rebut the allegations on the last statement. Somebody use them now. Mr. Eyring said that my vote to not raise taxes would shut down the government. That just shows how little Mr. Eyring actually knows about the taxing system.
Let's be polite.
Well, okay. I would say that one that knows about the taxing system and how government works, if you don't vote for this year's levy, that does not shut down the government. It just keeps in place last year's levy, which means no tax increase. And with that, I will say that Ron was quoted in the paper as saying he would never vote against a tax levy or vote against a tax increase. So.
Okay.
I have a minute to rebut.
Yes, you have 1 minute, and then that's the end of that subject.
Thank you very much. No, what I said is you didn't support the road levy, the tax levy, or vote for the budget. Period. If 2 commissioners would have voted that way, the levy wouldn't have happened. You would have shut government down. If they would not agree by the end of the year, government would have been shut down and the county would have been bankrupt. There was no discussion. You didn't have a discussion on the 1%. You didn't say a word at that. Go back and look at the tape. You did not say one word. I have the minutes right here. Anyhow, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on now. This one's for all the candidates, and this time we'll do this one right to left. And so Amanda, what are your thoughts regarding Track D? And that's the Glenwood Valley area.
Track D is sort of in my backyard. This is something that I heard about growing up, and even when I moved back, it was still going on. To me, it sounds like there was a treaty that was honored, and I know that the community is having a hard time understanding police coverage and water rights with the irrigation, but it sounds like conversations are happening and these water rights issues are getting sorted out, and before we know it, everybody's going to be taken care of. I look forward to getting in there and working with the tribes and the Glenwood residents if there's any future problems.
Okay, Todd?
Yeah, I think Amanda pretty much covered it. It's a strange creature out there, Glenwood, and how that happened. And I've heard stories. So you talk to past county commissioners, or you go into the government office, you go to Golden Dale there, and you kind of get one story, and then you talk to some of the residents, and you hear something else. So imagine you're living there and you don't know what jurisdiction you're under or anything like that. But as far as I know, is the policing, as far as the sheriff and the Native, I don't know what you call the Native American, the tribal police. As strange as it is to us, it's not strange to them. They have different districts and different rules. They know county lines and things like that. So it seems complicated, but they have to deal with those sort of boundaries all the time. So they work really well together. But if you're living there, it's I've talked to certain people, and you don't know if the water on your land is technically yours, because on Native American land, technically it doesn't belong to you. But so I feel for the citizens, but it doesn't seem to have changed the way they're taxed or anything like that. They're just kind of in this fog, and everybody sleeps better at night if they're like, oh, I know where I'm at and who my government is and who I go to make decisions. And if I want to hunt, what do I do about hunting? Or if I want, those things are it's just a good feeling to know who to speak to when you have a problem or an issue. So I feel with that and where the problem lies, I hear sometimes it was Klickitat County and some things not being filed, but it's going to be an issue for a little while, and I think it'll sort itself out.
All right, Dan.
Do I use my 1 minute rebuttal? I'm kidding.
These microphones could be used for something else.
I know that. Track D is Track D. We all are well aware of Track D. What we have to do is where we go from here. We can't back up. Courts have ruled. You need to make sure you elect people that have forethought, that look at possible scenarios, that they can fix possible scenarios before they fall out of the sky, land on your face, and start to wiggle. Here's one that I brought forward. Are you aware that the tribe believes that they own the water in the wells in Glenwood? And if you're up there, you've got to get permission from them to use your own well. And that you've got to go in and get a permit every 5 years. Well, what if they don't want to give you the permit? What if they want to charge you $2,000 for the permit? What do we do about that? Well, we can't put in a cistern and truck potable water over there because that's illegal in Klickitat County. Why? I don't know. We're the only ones that don't, but okay. So to get in front of the tribe potentially using that as leverage against the citizens, I pushed forward, and thanks to Commissioner Anderson, I very much appreciate his support on this, was able to move through and legalize truck potable water in Klickitat County. So now if the tribe tries to leverage the citizens' water right, the citizens just say, well, I'll just slap a cistern on here and we'll keep on going along. It doesn't devalue your money or property or anything else, but we have to start thinking proactively on what the next scenario is going to be that they might use as leverage, that we can change our county code to protect our citizens in the valley. Now, I do feel for all those citizens because technically I'm not going to buy a piece of property there, just because who I can call for law enforcement if something happens. And I don't like living under the rules of if the incident involves a tribal member, I can't call my sheriff. I have to call the tribal police and hope they do something. That would scare the hell out of me, based on previous knowledge that I have. So I feel for them, and I will do all I can to help them. If they have more ideas on how to help them, please bring them forward. If I'm not here and I come up with an idea, hopefully Ron will run with my idea, because we have to protect those people from what has happened to them.
Ron?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, Track T, some of the biggest issues I see, I know, is the law enforcement when it becomes with a juvenile or adult also, tribal.
If they're not Native American,
If they're not Native American,
they're in our jurisdiction.
You let him answer the questions, Bob.
He's
Yeah,
giving
I'm not debating.
the Native American
He's giving
is the issue. Some other issues that haven't been discussed, we did talk about the water rights, you're right. Now the PUD has to go to the tribe to get water rights, lease water rights. They can't even, ecology will not, or Department of Health, the state will not give them the water rights. They have to go to the tribe to get water rights. So now they're doing long-term lease. Well, you know about leasing water. Usually you want it on a long-term basis, and that's not how it is. Also, some of the issue with the Track D is Department of Ecology's backed off and said, we no longer have jurisdiction to oversee on the wastewater plant and the sewer plant. And so who's gonna? Is that EPA? Federal jurisdiction? That's some major issues that we're gonna have to work out. And I agree with Dan, no matter what, whoever's in place, it's gonna be a big issue. It's like we worked on the water rights back when I was a commissioner before, and we did get the water rights perfected to Glenwood. Then since then, they said, well, you don't have access on the ditch. You got the water right, but you don't have access. That's a big issue in Glenwood Valley, even today. So thank you. But me too.
How dare you?
My rebuttal is more of an add-on.
I know, right?
So these
Why
are
did I do this?
all of these challenges are true, and this makes a great point in what type of leader you need to be looking for. You need somebody that's not combative with the tribes, that's willing to go across party lines and work, because we can't go in and demand things and expect to get it and put up a fight. We need to be having conversations and building bridges.
Okay. So, the next question, and it's to all candidates, and so we'll go left to right this time. Dallesport has a serious problem with nuisance properties that reduce property values for everyone else. Will you increase the budget of code enforcement? Go ahead.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yes.
Okay, Dallesport has a serious problem with nuisance properties that reduce property values for everyone else. Will you increase the budget of code enforcement so that something can be done?
Starting down here.
With Ron.
Nuisance properties. When I served as commissioner in 93, 96, we put in the nuisance department because of the issues with nuisance. The question is just making sure we follow through. When will we increase the budget? At this time, I can't answer that because I don't know what their budget is. I know they have a person involved with it, and I don't know how much within the prosecuting attorney's office in the process. But I believe it will be looked at with the rest of the budget.
Dan?
I know I can answer that better, and I really wish you'd make me answer the question. I'm going to answer the question. You're not going to like my answer, but I'm always honest with you. The answer is no. I am not going to add more budget to the code compliance department because we don't have any money. Simple fact of that. The other reason is I would have to question how many active nuisance complaints you actually have in Dallesport. You might look at a property and think it's a nuisance, but there's a county policy on what you have to go through in order to abate or clean up or get restitution for said nuisance. First off, you have to have 2 residents file complaints and they have to live within a mile of the property. So are there, whatever property you're talking about with your question, are there 2 complaints on file? You probably should call code compliance and find if there's 2 complaints, because if there's only 1, it's sitting there waiting for another one. Contact your neighbor, have him fill out a form. Now there's 2. Now we can start. We have been, since the last 2 years when we put in the new code compliance guy, who's been there about 1.5 years, he has done a tremendous job. We've focused on not so much the stick, but the carrot. And if you don't like the carrot, we're gonna hit you with the stick. So we haven't had to go in and clean up any properties and spend 50 grand to clean up a property that we'll never get tax money back out of. We've worked with, and this was my idea, we worked with Republic Services to get vouchers. So they now give us 300 vouchers where you can take a load of trash to the transfer station for nothing. So our code compliance guy can go give vouchers to these nuisance people. We also have 5 drop boxes, the big contractor drop boxes. Again, my idea, working with Republic. So our code compliance guy can say, hey, Republic, I need a drop box at this place in Dallesport. My wife's hollering that this microphone's too loud. So that now if we have someplace and the person doesn't have any money to haul their own trash, we can drop a drop box there. But we have to make sure they have 2 complaints. And then they get directed where we're currently reworking the fine schedule. So if they flat refuse to qualify or refuse to do anything, and just like, nope, I can't do anything, I got glaucoma, I can't lift up a box. Then we can issue fines or whatnot. But the last thing we want to do is to actually spend money to abate the property, because what happens is we end up spending twice as much as the property's even worth. And 30 seconds, I'll try to be short. And we have the previous board had a very bad track record with abatement companies. So now when we say, what will it cost to clean up this property? They say $3 million. Because the last time it was $20,000, and then they found a bunch of asbestos and needed more money, and the commissioner said pound sand. So they left the abatement company holding the bag, and the abatement company now overestimates every project they have. Complex, contact me offline, that's all I can talk about.
Okay, Dan was the first one to get a stop.
I tried not to.
Dan, you need me to donate a few seconds to you?
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, so that's a personal property rights. That's a rights issue, basically. I've met the gentleman that handles the complaints there in Goldendale. It is complaint driven, and I don't think they need more money. Basically, when there's an issue, it's kind of difficult. Like imagine you have an elderly grandparent or something like that stops taking care of their place as much, or there's an issue or death in the family for whatever reason. You know, some of the places that are really bad, it's drug or mental health related. But imagine that's in your family and something's going downhill, or it's been even if it's been years and years and years. You don't want law enforcement to go get involved and to do something like that. So the best way to take care of it is community-wide. You know, the community cleanup that we have at Bingen White Salmon, that worked wonders. And I know churches, groups, and things like that, they reach out to places that are of concern, that are, you know, whether it's an eyesore or whether you notice someone struggling to maintain their yard or paint their fence. So always as a county and as good citizens, we should be looking for that route first, because that is extremely efficient, financially responsible, and what a wonderful place, right? Rather than looking to give someone a ticket or cause a problem for them, that we help them out. And so I'd like to seek that, because we do have code compliance, and I think it's somewhere, there's 60 issues right now. And I don't know if that was just Goldendale or if that's in Klickitat County. And they visit them and they talk to them and they visit them again. And it's just a kind of an ongoing thing that, but they have personal property rights. So unless there's rats or some major odor that's being invasive and a problem with your rights, then it's a sticky situation. So always being a good citizen and a good neighbor is the best way to handle it. Thank you.
Amanda?
I'm pretty sure the actual question was, would I be willing to raise the salary of our code compliance officer? Is that what?
Actually, no, will you increase the budget of the code enforcement
Oh, the budget of the code enforcement. I honestly have not seen that budget and cannot speak clearly or intelligently on that, so I'm not going to give you some baloney answer. I have met Jorge, or George as some know him, and he's a really gentle man, and I know that the county does take a neighborly approach to all of these complaints firsthand. And I think Todd hit the nail on the head with some of these ideas. Like, we are a community and we can come together, but some of these projects are a little out of our hand. And if I'm a neighbor and my neighbor is not being very neighborly for months on end, and I have to look at it and smell it, I am gonna want some support and somebody to come in and help me deal with it. I am curious to look at the budget for that so I can know more. Thank you.
Just to clarify, the 2 complaints rule is for your grass being too tall or something. The county commissioners can take executive action if it's a leaking septic tank, waste running out on the property, something like that, and we do. So just so you know the difference. And then the other problem we have is all complaints have to go through legal and be routed appropriately, so they take time. Anybody want to challenge that?
No, that sounds like brute bureaucracy to me. I mean, let's gotta go through a whole bunch of different places. Okay, so now we're gonna go right to left. It's for all candidates. Has any, oh wait a minute, no, we'll just do raise your hands. The question is, has any one of you been or spoke at a Democratic meeting this year?
A Democrat or Democratic?
Democrat. Says crap.
Do I get to speak because I raised my hand?
You can speak a minute, sure.
Go ahead.
You want to
You want him first?
Go ahead.
She wants to
Go
go
ahead.
first. No, I have not, but I was invited to speak at the Snowden Community Council next month, and that's pretty much the same thing. So I wanted to be upfront about it.
That's Snowden, okay. Go ahead, Amanda.
I'm running as an independent, and I'm running for a nonpartisan position. I have spoken at Democrat meetings and Republican meetings, and I am proud of that. My sign hangs in Republican backyards and the backyards of Democrats. I'm proud of that. We have got to stop being partisan in our county. These national issues have nothing to do with what's going on in our county and with our neighbors. So yes, I have spoken.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Can I talk?
Now everybody's excited. Hold on. Todd's first.
I didn't raise my hand because I don't know. I have gone to the majority of all the community meetings, so I hear the Lao community group is very much left but we had a wonderful conversation. So, you know, I don't make people show their cards. If I'm in a group, you do get a few more difficult questions or something like that, or you can tell people are a little angry. But I don't recall that I was at a Democrat-specific event, but I've gone to all the community meetings and I've had all the people come up at all the parades and rodeos and things like that. Thank you.
Yes, Ron?
Yeah, I guess I haven't gone to the Republican.
Okay, I want to go ahead and give you a little bit on this. When it was talking about Democrat, they're talking about a Democrat meeting, not a council meeting, not any like a Snowden meeting. Or
Because I
anything
was
like
at the
that.
Trail Lake meeting, Wishram meeting.
No, because there's meetings of the Democratic Party, there's the Republican parties all over, so that's what I was talking about.
Not at a Democrat party
No, 'cause-
meeting, no.
In this room, I can guarantee you there's all three, okay? You got independents, you got Democrats, and you got Republicans in this room. But that's what somebody asked that question, so we threw it out there.
Can I ask a question of my seatmates? You see this stack of questions? Are you guys okay with changing the response time to like 2 minutes to try to get more questions in?
Mine are usually around 1.5. So
Whenever she flags
Okay,
this,
voluntarily.
that's the pot called the kettle black.
if you do,
I'll speed it up.
I want to get to the cookies.
Oh, no, not 1 minute. That's not enough to answer these questions, some of these questions. Okay, all candidates, we're doing left to right again. There hasn't been a deputy position added to the sheriff's office in 20 years. But the county population has grown. What are your plans to fix this public safety problem? Starting with Ron.
That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Yeah, it is, because overall, with the budget, sitting at the budget meeting today, talking about revenues, and revenues are down, how are we gonna fix it? The only thing I know in the discussion would be in the future, but there was discussion about taxes. Do you want a safety levy to help improve the department? I don't know where else you're gonna get the funding. We bring in $5.4 million off the levy, and the sheriff's budget's 5.2. I gotta figure out how to do it. I'd have to look at the situation and make an commitment.
Thank you. Dan?
No, I volunteered 2 minutes. There's no way to explain it in 2 minutes.
You did it, exactly.
Right? Ron, yield this time.
Yeah.
Ron is correct. There is no money. I feel for the sheriff needing more people, but there is no money. The only alternative, if we want to have more officers on the street, I'm hearing a hand back there, or seeing a hand, is to run a public safety levy. In other words, put it on the ballot for you to raise your taxes to go towards public safety. The question lies, you have to read the fine print. Because if I put it on the ballot and I raise an extra $1.5 million for public safety, I do have to give it to Bob, but I don't have to really give it to Bob. So Bob's budget's $5 million. I can hand him this 1.5. That doesn't make him 6.5 because I just took $1.5 million of general fund money away. He's still at 5. Now I got $1.5 million to play with. That is the plan in this county, folks. Well, at least it was the plan last year when it was talked about. The plan could be changing. So I have informed Bob that if that is the direction of the new board, get it in writing. That money is actually going to increase your budget with a tax levy. Get it in writing, not verbal from a politician. That whatever money is raised, how much of it is going to come to you. They should know that it will raise, say, $1 million. Maybe you don't get it all. Maybe we're only going to give you $500,000 and the other $500,000 is spent on the attorney and another this on this. They can pencil it out, and that's how they should sell it to the voters. So you know what you're getting. Not a shell game of we're going to give money to Bob and then not give money to Bob. So I'm only warning you in case I'm not here in a year, but that's the plan.
Dan, your 2 minutes is up.
You just missed the stop sign. Okay. Go ahead, Todd.
That's gonna be fun. So, yeah, I think the sheriff can always have the right, or whoever the sheriff is can come in and ask for us to put a levy on, and I would always honor that because that's bringing it to the citizens. And I just found out about that you could, on a levy, you can specify it for, so it has to go to the sheriff's department, but that doesn't mean the $5 million that he's getting currently, some of that can be taken away. So I don't know how to deal with that, and I guess a lot of counties play that game. They will do a specific levy, and then that money all gets blended in together. So you as citizens kind of got to be a watch group and be aware of that. So you protect your county and what you're voting for. But I'd always put that levy, I'd always put something up to the vote for the people. Even though for the most part I'm against taxes, I believe there's other ways to find that money. I know that our county does spend about 25% less in the sheriff's department when you compare it to, I've seen 25 to 30% less when you compare it to other counties, similar population, similar size of other counties in Washington. So they do a great job by getting a lot of things donated to them through the posse, through flying planes and people driving boats. All that is volunteer. So you get millions of dollars of free services. Our county's been very creative that way. Thank you.
Amanda.
I think a safety levy makes the most sense in this situation and let the people vote on it. I know that in the west end of the county and talking to the Bingen White Salmon Police Department, we don't get deputies out there, and sometimes they have to, because it, you know, an emergency happens and they'll be here and it's an hour drive, and so our officers will have to sit with them and wait until the deputy comes. And I would be all for voting yes for a safety levy to get another deputy on the sheriff's department.
Okay, the next question is for Amanda. Since you are running as an independent, please give 2 specific examples of how your views differ from those of the Democratic Party.
Oh, I love these independent questions. Being an independent isn't about tit for tat and what views I have. Being an independent means that I think we're more than just a letter after our name. I vote for people that I feel are going to do the best job. I can tell you one thing that I think is great about Donald Trump is that he doesn't want to get into big wars in other people's business. I can't name a specific about another issue that the Democrats voted on that I was against. My head's not in the space to think like that, but I can talk to you about why I'm an independent and if that works for you, whoever asked the question.
Okay, we have another individual specific candidate, Dan Christopher. The question is, why did you change your position on the jail to end up in Yakima? Yeah, that's a new one on me.
How do you answer a question that is insinuating something that's not true? I don't know. I think what it's trying to insinuate is when we first started, me and Jake first started, we knew we were going to run into budget problems because the previous board and his campaign manager, they overestimated the landfill revenues to $10.5 million. It was downright might as well been fraudulent. It's never been above 9.2. So we had a $2 million budget we had to make up right off the bat. Part of that was analyzing every piece of county government to make sure we're getting the best bang for the buck. We went through and redid our insurance companies, we did everything. And I had an idea the first year, we need to know everything so that we can make an informed decision. I said we should analyze the jail, see what our costs are, see what our costs would be to send somewhere else, and see what it would cost to build a new jail. Let's have some planning. What costs you money is having no planning, and so you're reactionary or you make decisions based on emotion. Let's research things. That never happened. We never researched anything, and that was dead until I got the shock of a lifetime showing up to a meeting and found out that there's a motion to close the jail. That is the first I had heard about it since I brought it up in the budget 2 years before, but none of that was going to Yakima. So it didn't actually single out any jail, just what it would cost to have a regional or what it would cost to do, what other options do we have. Just like I make that kind of thing with everything all the time, so nothing for Yakima.
Excuse me, can I take my minute?
Okay.
Since he said it several times, I was not the campaign manager. I was the treasurer of his campaign. So please, treasurer, not campaign manager.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is for all candidates, and I think we're on left to right now. No, we're on right to left. Okay, so Amanda will be first.
Are we starting in the middle anytime? Yeah.
No, wait a minute, that's not me. Okay, good.
All right.
So the question is, do you support the commissioners turning the Klickitat County Jail over to the Department of Corrections? Why or why not? Amanda?
Thank you.
2 minutes again.
You know, wait, I get 2?
2. I don't know how we do this. 2 minutes.
You know, I do think that our jail was having some serious issues, and I support that our commissioners stepped in to make a change. I think it was a bit crazy, and it's a big challenge, but I'm really happy that our inmates in jail is not going to be shipped over to the Dalles or Norcor. I support it being in our county, in Goldendale, keeping the jobs and our inmates here. Thank you.
Todd?
I would not have wanted it to go to a board. That's always less efficient. When you look at their numbers, it's going to cost you bare minimum $500,000 more, but probably more like $1 million more minimum, and then it'll ramp up from there. And so the concerns with the jail, every jail has concerns. When you're dealing with criminals, mental health issues, drug issues, that's always a tough thing. So there's two main things: concerns for the safety of the jailers and concern for the citizens that are in there for whatever reason. You want health and safety for both those people, and none of those issues have been addressed. All the issues that brought up the concern for the jail, not one has been addressed. Only one county commissioner has even visited the jail. I went to the jail. I was expected to see it falling down, rotting away. They had a free fix for the problem with the hanging. It could have been solved within days. They still have not fixed it, to my knowledge. I'm not going there every day or anything like that. But we had totally free fix for that. We also had $30,000 on the budget to be able to fix it the normal government kind of way. As far as I know, the money's not been released. It still has not been fixed. So the safety has not been addressed. And so the only decision they're making is to make it more expensive. They haven't addressed any of the issues whatsoever. And so that should have been brought before the citizens before we make you spend $1 to $1.5 million more without fixing any problems whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay, Dan.
My biggest problem was how it was done. I think it was done unprofessionally. I think it was done because there was a little bit of a piss and match between one of the commissioners and the sheriff. I think it was a decision that was a rash decision based off emotion and politics, because we were being lobbied quite heavily from the left, from the I Hate Sheriff Bob fan club. I think when you make a decision based off politics or emotion, you make a bad decision. I'm for gaining, if you want to think about closing the jail or shifting the jail to Northport, fine, let's have the discussion. Let's do the research, let's get all the information, let's talk to professionals, let's see what our choices are, let's see what the budget consequences are, and then let's make a decision. You don't come in and make a motion to close the jail by April 12th. That means you've already made your decision, you've already done your due diligence, and I can honestly tell you that's not what happened, regardless of what you're being told. So, do I think there could be a good end result? Maybe. We'll find out. But what should have happened is, Bob, come meet with the commissioners. We're concerned. There's been a couple issues lately. We know there's issues in every jail. I just heard of 2 more today of deaths in jails that are good jails. Let's have a discussion. Are you okay with us bringing somebody in to look at your policies and procedures, or bringing the insurance company in to help on what we can retrofit to save potential litigation? And if he's, sure, let's do it, then let's fix our jail. If he's, screw you, get out of my sandbox, I'm gonna, to hell with the inmates, that ain't Bob. He's not gonna do that. But if he did do that, then I would support them taking the jail away if he's not willing to fix it himself. We never gave the man the opportunity, and I find that poor form.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ron. You want the card back again?
No. No, that's fine. Several things I couldn't disagree with the process. I was at the meeting the day the decision was made, and I was surprised, but that's all right. It went a direction for a certain reason, but the process. Now you're asking me, am I in favor of this or not in favor of it? I can't answer it without all the information. I'll just flat say that. I'm not driving the bus. I'm not a commissioner sitting in the seat having all the information due to the lawsuits. So I can't answer that, personally.
Can I rebuttal?
To me? I want to rebuttal on that too.
Amanda first.
I'm just getting my sea legs here with this candidate forum, and it's hard being first and gathering your thoughts really quick and having 2 minutes. It really is. So I was at that meeting too, and Ron's right. we don't have all the information. We're not in there with the prosecuting attorney, and the decision has been made, and the county has taken over the budget of the jail. And I would much rather see it in our county and remain there. I think there's great opportunity for us to come together and help create a correction system that works for everyone. Thank you.
Well, I would just
Wait,
say,
I'm next.
yes, sir.
So, 1 minute starting now. So that's the thing. You're going to hear that a lot. Like I wasn't there, or I don't know all the details, and some of that's true. But you can look at the information. So before they go raising your taxes without providing any services, that's really strange to me. Before, when they don't try and fix the problems, when there's no effort to fix the safety, I mean, that should be every one of ours concern. We should go up there. I mean, we should be like marching on there, like, you haven't. It's been over a year and you still haven't fixed these problems. That is gross negligent, and they're not concerned with the safety. How could you not be concerned with the safety of your citizens and fixing those problems? It's crazy to me, but yeah, we weren't there, but they need to fix those problems. Thank you.
Here, 1 minute.
Tom's not entirely wrong. At first it was, we're gonna save a chunk of money by closing the jail. And now it's, whoops, it's gonna cost $700,000, and we just heard today potentially $1 million more. And that was, oh, we did it for inmate safety, but yet we still don't have a nurse or any, so it is what it is. But just for clarifications, for any candidate that refuses to take a stand because they needed to know the legal implications of it, I still don't know. I'm in the executive sessions, all like 2 of them this year. There's no legal, I have no idea what happened on either case. I have no information from the prosecutor on what we did or what we did wrong or what we could have did better. So if you think you're gonna need that information to be able to make a decision, I didn't have it, so you probably won't have it either, so.
Okay, we'll go to the next question. It's all commissioners. We're going to start on the left side of me this time, Ron. And in 1946, property here in Dallesport was donated for a county park. What will you do to create that park? And if you don't know, the property is just west of us, and it's a huge area. Yep.
I guess first and foremost, what I'll do on the county parks is get educated on it. Be honest with you. And I had heard that there were some plans put together on the park. And then go from there. For me to answer that, I can't.
Are you yielding your time, sir?
Yeah, that's fine.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
And I would certainly hope, and I'm not running anybody down here. Anybody that wants this job better go learn something and hit the ground running so they don't become feckless and infected for 2 years. I understand y'all don't know, and that's fine. Let's learn it, because one of you has the awesome responsibility of managing these people's lives. The park is on 6th and D Street. It was donated to us, and please never go back and read the original deed. You will be very surprised if you read it. It's entertaining, you should go read it. Anyway, yes, the community wants a city park. I was able to push that through the Board of Commissioners, although one commissioner was against it. How do we develop that park? Well, first off, you have to put into, for RCO Recreation Conservation Office grants, you have to have a Board of Commissioners that wants to do that, because everything takes 2 votes. I am super big on parks. I actually applied for an RCO grant for the city of Goldendale to upgrade a Coney Park and put in new ball fields and all sorts of things. We did receive that grant, by the way. The county can do the same thing for Dallesport Park. The Wishram community did it for their own park. The county did it for Trout Lake Park, but I can honestly tell you that currently I believe I'm the only commissioner that wants to spend money in parks. A couple of years ago when Dave Sauter was still here, I was managed for 1 year to get my commissioners to put $150,000 away into parks, $50,000 per commissioner district. for that commissioner to deem towards parks. There's still $50,000 in that parks fund for District 2, but I can tell you there is just no interest besides myself to put any money in that park and or apply for an RCO grant, regardless of what you might be hearing in the world. And you're going to need to elect somebody else that cares about parks and actually wants to upgrade boat ramps and all.
I wasn't going to heckle you again.
That's number 2. Go ahead.
Okay, I believe the children are our future. We should let them lead the way.
That's the best one.
Is that from a song? Yeah, parks are really important to kids. Dallesport, so I'm not aware of where that was. I think it came up in this Tuesday's meeting that there was some park donated. I had no idea it was 1946. I don't know how many kids are in this local area, but I do know volunteer community organizations can get together, and that can be done very simply without the government. It's already been donated. Dan would know the details of how that would affect since it was donated to the county. There may be some safety things, but to wait on Dallesport to be, for there to be more homes and more development in this area, it doesn't necessarily have to be stalled and wait until that happens. There can be some things to where there can be, you think of a playground and you think swing sets, and some of that can get kind of expensive with insurance, but you can also have a soccer field. It also could be, there could be one person in this community that's going to go out and mow the lawn. It could be watered. So this doesn't take a ton of tax dollars because maybe it wouldn't be used that much. But then over the course of a couple of years, you could decide like, wow, kids are showing up. So now we need to, start ramping up the dollars. And the main thing involved with all these decisions is I see a lot of money going to my area, to the white salmon area. It's there needs to be divided up somewhat equally. I know there's a lot of growth happening on the west end, but we've been eating up a lot of the tax dollars that should be coming to Dallesport, should be going to Goldendale, should be going to Centerville, and that's because of the growth. But there needs to be some fairness as far as where the allocation of funds goes. So, thank you.
I think parks are incredibly important to building strong and cohesive communities, even for birthday parties or gathering places. This is one of those things we keep hearing our county doesn't have any money, and no, it doesn't. And the residents don't always have a ton of extra volunteer hours to go and mow and water, and I do believe the community wants to be involved. But something that I think a lot about when I think about our county is that we don't have a grant writer at all. We don't have somebody to support a grant writer. We pay these taxes, they go out to the state and the federal government, and they sit in there, and we have to go after them and bring them back. And that is what, if we hired a full-time grant writer with the support, we could have them paid off probably within the first month and help these communities find money to fix their parks. In Trout Lake, in my district, the 15-acre park is overgrown. The showers that the hiker use is moldy and disgusting, and they're facing the same problem. As for the West End Park, we just got a splash pad in White Salmon, and that was done by the city of White Salmon, spearheaded by our mayor, Marla, and that's changing everything because we don't have a swimming pool. And whatever we can do to work together, I love that. I love that spirit, and I have the energy to get out there and help mow, but we also need to find more funds. And if we can get a grant writer and somebody to help bring this money back to our county, I'm sure we could pay them very quickly.
1 minute?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay.
I actually quite agree with Amanda on the grant writer. I'm kind of on my own on that, but managed to push it through. We did get a grant to pay for a grant writer, believe it or not. That's through economic development, and then it shifted over to board discretion, going to the Klickitat Board of Klickitat County Public Economic Development Authority. That grant writer got shifted to McKed and is now working for the city of White Salmon, and you can't use them. Why, I don't know, but I agree with Amanda. We had a grant writer, we would get a lot of things done.
Okay, the next one's a specific candidate. Amanda.
Bring it.
Do you plan to defund public safety in Klickitat County?
Oh, I love this.
You only get 2 minutes.
No, I do not plan to defund public safety in Klickitat County. I think what everybody's referring to is a petition that I signed back in 2020, and it wasn't against all public safety or police officers. It was actually directed directly towards our sheriff, Bob Songer. And what was happening back then is we didn't have any behavioral health or addiction support in our county. And we weren't asking to defund or anything like that. It was a freeze on the increase of the budget so we could allocate funds to support behavioral health and addiction. I believe in a holistic approach to these problems. Now, that was 2020. I've been sitting in meetings, I have been analyzing the budget. There's no space to freeze anything. You are running on a shoestring, and I see it. So, no, I'm not going to defund anybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Rebuttal.
1 minute. I'm glad we went to 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, leaves are under. So I would hope so. There's Bob's he's a controversial guy, for an old guy. I remember back when he was running, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's but he doesn't sound that great. So we got a group of people together, and down at Murphy's Watering Hole had Garrett Clifford and Bob Songeres, and I'm like, I gotta see who this old guy is, because he's shooting cougars and he's doing all this kind of stuff. But on every one of those issues, because I went and met with Garrett Clifford multiple times, I went and met with Sheriff Bob Songer, I go to find out that they're both great people, And so any issue you have with them, and that's the thing, like if you have an issue with the jail, go see it, go talk to those jailers. They'll tell you about all the little problems that they need fixed that still aren't fixed, and our county won't allow them to fix it. Crazy. So you go and talk to Bob Songer, or to Garrett, to all our law enforcement. They will guide you through what the problems are and why. A lot of times they stem from Olympia. A lot of times there's numerous other issues, and so just go talk to the elected officials, go talk to those people, versus doing something that's inflammatory into the public that won't make anybody safer, won't move any budget around. I mean, that's job number one. If you're in this community, try and make it safer. Try not to just inflame it and divide it. Thank you.
Okay. This next one is actually specific for 2, Dan and Ron. So to my left. Property rights and individual rights is a Republican issue. We fight for property rights. Solar farms is a land grab. Do you support or oppose solar farms?
Which one would you like to go first, sir?
Go ahead, Dan.
Ron's like, yeah, you go first.
Hey, Ron, you owe me now.
I'm a firm believer in private property rights. I will fight for private property rights until the day I die. But where your private property rights end is when you affect the value of your neighbor's land. You now have left your property, and you're impeding on your neighbor's right to have wealth. So if you live in Dallesport and you want to open a hog farm, and your neighbor can't sell their house because it smells like hog, I might have a problem with that. If your neighbor wants to have a motorcycle track right in downtown Dallesport that affects their property values, you're now interfering with your neighbor's noise, nuisance. Yeah, I might have a problem with that. If you want to put a solar farm in that's going to devalue their property values, which, let's be honest, the main source all of us have for individual wealth is the money we have in our home. So if you're going to devalue someone's home, you are stealing their wealth. Also that the leaser can make a bunch of money. I am opposed to that. I don't think you have the right to do with on your property all you want. But when you're going to start devaluing your neighbor's property, because you're now looking at an eyesore that I'm not buying that house, I guarantee you half the people in this room ain't buying that house. What's going to happen to the value? It's going to depreciate. You're now affecting their value. That's where your property rights end. I believe this is where we're going to disagree, because Mr. Eyrig is $2,900 in campaign contributions from the Pro Electrical Solar Union out of Vancouver and the Pro labor union out of Vancouver. Plus, a lot of people that have already testified to the county commissioners as being pro-solar, donations as well. So I think we differ on this issue, and you may hear that shortly.
Ooh, you almost didn't make it. Before you go, Ron, ding, 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 you got an extra question here.
Can I answer one?
Well, this one's just a yes or no, so you can answer that. Do you support solar in Goldendale on Knight Road? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, now you can answer the other question.
Go back on the campaign contribution. Thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. Yes, I received money from IBEW Local 48, Southwest Washington Central Labor Council. They asked 2 questions. One was on the pump storage project. Did I support it? And I said, yes, I did. The second one was the White Salmon Bridge. I said, yes, I did support that. There was no discussion on solar. I didn't bring it up. They didn't bring it up. I am an IBEW member, and I'm proud of it. Property rights? Yes, I'm very strong on property rights. That's when people bring up moratoriums, you then cut off a person's property right. You don't have the discussion in the process, you cut the process off. People should have a right to go through a process. Saying that, there is a moratorium in the central part of Klickitat County. And yeah, the moratorium was moved into the zoning ordinance, and that will stand.
You just gotta go correct.
Yeah, it's nice they help me out up there. But it does, you are absolutely correct. It's like the earlier discussion of cleaning up lots around Dallesport. You bet they need cleaned up. What about the person's property rights that live next door that has a nice house? That's why we started the compliance, to clean it up. When it devalues your property, you are absolutely correct. Okay, I got the no.
You had 30 seconds, but that's fine. We need to move along. We do have one rebuttal. Go ahead.
15 seconds of rebuttal. I think you asked the wrong question on whether he's supportive of the Knight Road Solar Project. Because yes, we have a prohibition, but the county commissioners can undermine that prohibition by signing the franchise agreement, the road haul agreement, and the binding site plan. So my answers would be, if I was asking the question, Mr. Robb, would be, can you promise these people that you will not sign the franchise agreement, the binding site plan, and the road haul agreement?
No, you can't promise that. Because if FSAC comes in and puts that solar farm, how are you going to protect the county on your roads? Tell me. From getting tore up if you don't have agreements in place.
Okay, we're going to move on now. The next question is actually a very good question. It's, what specifically do you want to accomplish with your time in office should you be elected? We will start with Ron since it's going this way this time.
Boy, I'm sure glad I get to start. First, I think first thing to do is we need to build bridge and mend fences. The county has not been working with the PUD in a relationship. I think that's sad because a lot of things aren't getting accomplished. And when you work together, whether it's the PUD, whether it's the Port District, or whatever other elected officials, things don't get accomplished when you can't sit down at the same table and get things accomplished. You got to sit down and work through things. They're working on the budget. I'm sure there's going to be new budget things we need to work through. There are several other things that was mentioned on the comprehensive land plan that we're going to need to be working on. That's going to be a big one and take up a lot of time, at least 2 years of time. So, thank you.
I think you're only supposed to get one. Go ahead.
That wasn't for everybody?
Oh, yeah.
No, that's your turn.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I thought it was everybody.
The question again was,
It was this one. What month? No.
What do you hope to accomplish?
well,
What do you hope to accomplish if
Well,
you're elected?
I guess I would say it was just a continuation of what's already been accomplished. And that's the fight for the people over the special people. I would argue back to Ron, the PUD used to give updates to the Board of Commissioners all the time. They're choosing not to. That's their choice. I have no problem having a meeting with the PUD. They just better get used to the answer of no when they come wanting the county's water right, or whether they want Dallasport's wastewater for $1. The only reason they want to have conversations is because they want something. We had COVID money, and why did they show up? Because they wanted us to give them COVID money. And my answer was, have you checked with the state, see if you can get your own COVID money? Well, no. Well, maybe you should try that first. Come to find out, they got their own COVID money. And I would argue that the Port District, and they're all great, I'm not bad-mouthing any of them, but they just want their piece of the pie, whether that's water rights or Klickitat economic development funding. But no, to me, what I would like to continue to accomplish is I would like to have a board that at least one other member actually works for the public. That we can go to work every day and fight for things for you. Instead of fighting for things for friends and families and campaign members. The budget's been cleaned up. Most of the extra fluffy stuff is out of there. There's not a whole lot to do in that, but there is still deregulation. We've done a lot of going through the building and the planning and all that to remove the regulation to reduce cost of homes and make affordable housing, but there's still a lot of work to do on those.
Okay, Todd.
And if you need to say more, maybe you can with their permission, because Amanda said deciding everything that you want to do, but I guess we're also going to have a few minutes in closing. So, okay. So part of this to stay within time, I'm just going to read what I wrote down because I'm not a very linear thinker sometimes, if you haven't noticed if you don't know me and haven't noticed from this. So citizens' interests above corporate demand. So that any outside or any one large landowner should not be making these decisions for us, for our citizens. We need to decide what happens in our own backyard. And I'd hope as citizens, you'd help other people defend what's going on in their backyard. So when we started getting together as a group 5 years ago, under canvas was the huge thing. We're like, what's going on there? So we went and we met with them and we defended that. When we heard about the solar, we're like, that's not necessarily right. They shouldn't be ram-shotting this through and deciding what happens in Goldendale. So number 2, creative solutions for fiscal challenges. I've been meeting with other counties around the area. There are a number of amazing fiscal or just really, really neat ways of handling government problems, dividing resources up among counties. So, there's a lot of things that we don't just have to tax you, like, oh, we got to raise this because you're not going to be safe next year if we don't raise this, if we don't do this levy. That's government 101. Balance property rights, support law enforcement and community safety. Bring back citizens advisory boards and town hall meetings. I believe that is probably my number one thing, because I know a number of you that even try and be involved. It's very complicated to see what's happening and then know what's going to be voted on. So I think if there's groups in all these towns and areas and they're aware of what decisions the county commissioners are going to make, it makes it much easier to do so in that way.
Okay, I've been waiting for this question and I'm so excited. So I'm going to start with the comprehensive plan, which is a cool document because not only can we think about the future of the county, but we can incorporate affordable housing ideas and childcare and parks and fire protection. I think about economic development, and I want us to be a self-reliant county. We are creative, hardworking folk. I have meetings with people, and there are jobs in forestry and fire prevention practices that we can be doing that create jobs. Let's see, what else? Pardon? The affordable housing, I have great ideas with this. Right now, none of the Airbnbs in our county are being registered, and if we were to register them, we could add an additional tax to all of those Airbnbs to be paid for by the tourists that come to town and rent those Airbnbs. That would be no cost to us, and we can put that in a fund for more affordable housing projects. And I also really want to work to create a healthy work environment in our county where people feel safe brainstorming, coming to leadership, and coming together to face the challenges. Did I do it? How much time do I have left?
You got it. Keep going.
Okay, what else? I do think that there's a lot we can do as a people if we just put our boots on and get to work, like Todd was saying. I think there's creative ideas out there for us as a community to find solutions together and clean things up. And really, I can't wait to bridge the divide and bring everyone together. Thank you.
Okay, the next question to all candidates, and this time we'll start on Amanda's side. If Congress or state legislators pass a law that conflicts with the Constitution, should the law enforcement enforce that law?
I think this is a question trying to pull us into a constitutional county conversation. Am I correct about this? And right? And I don't really understand that, and I don't know how a law could be passed if it is unconstitutional.
Think of the mandates from COVID for one.
Okay. I don't think, and the question was, should our law enforcement be able to, what was the question?
To enforce a law that goes against our Constitution.
I do think as law enforcement, don't you take an oath to follow the Constitution?
Absolutely.
And so if there is a law that doesn't support, that this is a tongue twister, mind tire. So if the Constitution, give me, okay, so the mask mandate came down. That was for public safety, and I think that was for being a better neighbor. I live in the middle of nowhere and got to work remotely, so I don't know much about that. But I don't think when it comes down to our sheriff threatening to arrest public officials that are doing their job that they would lose, I don't think he should enforce that law. Thank you.
Okay, Todd.
So this is Civics 101, and this is deciding why so many people, why we have so many immigrants that have always come here, is because we are one of the few governments that we don't have a constitution that gives the people the rights. We have the rights, and we allow the government, so it's not that. Our rights are within us. The government doesn't have the right to do any of these things over us. So, this is, so if someone goes in there and makes a law, so I grew up in the South, there were still, when you go to some of these towns on the books, there were still some of these things like blacks couldn't use these drinking fountains or something like that. So you want a sheriff arresting someone because that's on the books, or you have someone going in there. So all law enforcement, how many in here have been pulled over by the cops and not gotten a ticket? I did. All right. Yeah. So at least half of you, they have a certain amount of sway, but also they have an oath to the Constitution. And if I'm sworn in, I will have to give the same oath because that Constitution is the law of the land. And then the courts can work some of those things out. So you see all the time that governments make crazy decisions that are unconstitutional and illegal and should not be passed. Why were some businesses allowed to be shut down, and yet you go over to Walmart and it's packed to the hilt for public safety? No, that was an insane law that should not. Why should these big corporations be allowed to stay open? So I was shopping at Costco and Walmart, and they were packed. And that was the first time where I'm like, I'm not a germaphobe, but I go in there and I'm like afraid for my life. I'm like, this is like going to a petting zoo. This is like packed to the hilt. And they're saying this is safe, but I can't go to my local Ace Hardware. So that's why the Constitution is important.
Go ahead, Dan.
Quick and easy, the sheriff is the only elected official that gets to decide whether he's going to enforce a law or not. And thank God for that. Because, yeah, I'm sorry, Amanda, the state tends to pass a lot of laws that are unconstitutional. Like you have to lock up your firearms that the Supreme Court's already ruled that's unconstitutional. But the state does it anyway because they know they can tie it up in court for 3 years. And that's all they want. So I support the sheriff being able to pick and choose which laws he wants to enforce because every sheriff has that right. So that's all I have to say on that.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just make it quick and short. The sheriff has to use a common sense approach. I'll just leave it at that.
Enforcing the Constitution is that.
Your common sense approach.
Okay, so at least a number of you, because I've been going to meetings and everything for the last 4 years, attending as many community meetings, but then holding a bunch of our own and town hall meetings. And so a number of you have stood side by side, even though I didn't necessarily agree. You know, I think that's a part of, you help your neighbor out, not because you're like, oh, I want to be just like my neighbor. I believe in everything he believes in. He's your neighbor, you know, and so that's what we are in this community. I believe, you know, there's a number of you, I don't know how many of you kiteboard and windsurf or need access to the river, but I think that's very much a part of our community. So we do things like that. And so there's a number of issues that aren't specifically your heartfelt issues that have a place in our county, and they need to be logged according fiscally responsible. Because a lot of our questions are like, should we have parks? Yes. You know, should we have more sheriffs? More deputies, should we have, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, our $60 million budget's now $80 million, and all you guys are going to be paying X amount more in property taxes and levies and things like that, and it's going to get really expensive. So the grant writing idea, and I was at that meeting where they have the grant to get a grant writer, and beyond that, I believe a number of counties, the grant writer is a part-time position, and it kind of pays for itself. So if they can find the grants, so you don't necessarily have to have a paid position that's on there. Most grant writers, if you find some good grant writers, I know there's a number in the area that they're talented and they can find the grants and they can get the grants. And so you stipulate it that way, because I know communities and businesses have brought in grant writers, and then all of a sudden you're going, oh, they only, you know, so that, I think that rewarded system would be wonderful for a grant writer. And the main reason, you know, there's some key differences between me and Amanda. She's really wonderful. I've gotten to know her father and gotten to talk to her from a number of things. So people ask me, why should you probably had this question, why should I vote for you over Amanda? And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're asking me to just say how wonderful I am or how awful she is. And so I usually don't do that, because I believe, you know, I'm like, well, if you're one of those people where the party divides you, I have an R next to my name. She's running as an independent. I do believe value-wise, we are separate on those. You know, I don't believe she's truly an independent, not as a cut. But so for those of you that's your deciding factor, I'm with Amanda on that. I don't think it should be your deciding factor. I think you talk to both of us and see what we bring to the table. That whole Democrat Republican thing. So it's great to have those people that will have those long form conversations with me about what matters the most to them. But there is some differences in that. Some of it is not all just party line. You know, there's certain people where the Constitution's really important, or
And so I guess I should explain why I have an R next to my name, or why the majority of the time I voted Republican. That was only because I am more fearful of large government. You've seen how government, they can make those decisions. I'm not afraid of Jeff Bezos. I believe in shopping in our community, using our local resources, sending our kids to our local schools. So Jeff Bezos, I try really hard not to use Amazon, not to use Walmart.com or something like that, because I want those jobs in the area. I want to look someone in the eye when I go into Ace Hardware or to Tumalum Lumber and things like that. And so that's important to me. And so that's the majority of the reason. The only issue in the past that I had with the Republicans, they were a little bit too much war hawkish and things like that. So 30 seconds, all right. Hopefully you've seen my values. Like I said, a lot of you I've talked to, numerous long conversations. If you have any further questions, get a hold of me. Thank you.
All right, next we'll have Dan tell us.
You're gonna get me going out of order. We've kind of hit everything today, but what we haven't hit is the majority of the questions I get from the Dallesport people. I don't honestly know whether that was intentional or an accident, but I know I can highly imagine that a lot of people are going to leave wishing they heard from us on the Dallesport issues. So I'm going to spend my 5 minutes on that, if you don't mind. It is my current position that the county is in cahoots with the PUD to strip the airport water right from the Dallesport Water District and give that water right to the PUD, for $1, of course. It is my belief, and when we left this room talking about rates a year ago, and I heard Commissioner Sauter talking to the PUD on the front porch, that they're only waiting for me to go away and that flashlight to get turned off, and the commissioners are going to give the Dallesport Wastewater Treatment Center to the PUD for $1. I'd be curious where my opponent stands on that, but since he was in charge of it, I'll be curious to see where he stands. My issue is not necessarily with the PUD, but are these taxpayers getting ripped off? When is the last time we went out to an O&M budget bid to see if there's somebody better to do the job or cheaper to do the job? Hasn't happened because we're protecting an over budget by the PUD. I can't get it to go out to bid no matter how much I try with my one vote. Why are we not doing an audit on that budget, which again, Mr. Ron used to run the place, so maybe he has the answer. We're currently in that budget paying for 3 full-time employees. Unfortunately, every time I drive by, there's nobody there. So are we, is that fraud? Is that tax fraud? What is that? I don't know. I'm not accusing it to be tax fraud. I just think there's a question there that an auditor needs to get to the bottom of, because if the county's paying for workers to work on some other water treatment center that ain't theirs, there's probably a law against that, and maybe it should be fixed. But I can't get an audit, and the PUD won't answer the question. And I'll probably never get the question answered because they're waiting for me to go home so that they can continue the cycle that has been this county for generations. If you want the cycle to continue, don't vote for me. If you'd like the cycle to change, vote for me. And when my opponent says there's contention on the Board of Commissioners, it calls me contentious to people. I would argue I'm not contentious, I'm courageous. He's just pronouncing it wrong. And maybe if you said courageous more, it would be, because you have to fight. If the only thing for evil to prevail is good men to do nothing. Do you want me to go get along and play ball? And just give more money? Your money, by the way, to special people? Or do you want me to fight it and say that's wrong, quit it? Hey, let's do an audit. Why is there 3 employees there? When every time everybody drives by, there's nobody there. Should we investigate that? Probably. But we're afraid of what the answer is. So I am a firm believer that the O&M contract needs to go out to bid. We need to be a forensic audit of that budget. And Dallesport is eventually going to want to become their own city. They need to be put in a place where they can be fiscally sound in doing it, and that is control of their own water and sewer. If they have to report to the PUD every time they want to hook up a house, and the profit on the hookup is made by the PUD and not the city, you will never survive. So if you're in Dallesport, you should probably not want to be at the mercy of the PUD for your water and your sewer. And I'm not saying if you endorse or vote for the guy that used to run the PUD for 20 years that he would be that way. But it's far more likely that I'm not. So if you have any other questions on the Dallesport issues, feel free to reach out to me. I am always open. I won Dallesport last time, and I thank you very much for that. I am going to need to win Dallesport by a bigger margin this time. So if you could just take a yard sign from the back of the room, if you can go to KlickitatCountyDan.com, not hard, Klickitat County Dan, you can read everything I just told you. I'm happy to post it right on the internet for everybody to read, which pisses people off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Amanda next.
You know,
I want him to
I probably won't remember everything if I go to Amanda.
So it makes sense.
Pardon?
He went from Todd to me, so it makes sense to go.
Well, Ron wants to go. Closing statements,
Ron
right?
was saying, yeah.
It is closing statements, and Ron, are you trying to twist our arms to
No.
talk? Go ahead.
No, I really don't even need to sit up here. But you bring up with stuff with the PUD and conspiracy and what they're doing. I have no clue. I've been gone for 8 years, Dan. I went back a couple times to help with hiring on the operations side. Yes, I did run the, oversaw the wastewater down here when we did. Last I checked, we received quite a few awards from Department of Ecology running the plant. I don't know, I haven't been down there. I see they received an award for 23. You've had 4 years to have an audit done. Why haven't you had it done? Then you got 2 commissioners you need to work with. I mean, I don't have a problem with the audit. Anyhow, saying that, you've attacked me on my financial receiving money. I'm proud to say that Joan Fry gave me money, Rex Johnson gave me money, Dave Sauter gave me money. Didn't you used to work with Dave?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Jim Sizemore, since I was his treasurer, not campaign manager. Don Struck and Ray Thayer.
The establishment.
The establishment. I am supported by the past commissioners. I have worked with past commissioners when I was at the PUD, yes. Whatever you want to call it. I do have institutional knowledge. I work with multiple boards, and we work together to come to solutions. I respected people who came to me. I did not give those people any gestures online. I didn't do anything. I worked with the people. I will work with boards. I will work with the Dallesport Water to come to a solution on what they need to do. I was there at the meeting trying to figure it out. It's confusing, and I'm going to come back and we'll get it figured out. I think if we get everybody in the same dang room and sit down, we could work out a solution. It can't be difficult. I've done projects. Yes, when I worked for the PUD, we did. I was in charge of the Bickleton water system. We built a $1.2 million brand new water system, and the only debt to the people is $200,000. Yes, that's what I did at the utility. And that's all I have.
Okay, Amanda.
Well, it's been real
everyone. I appreciate your time and your patience. And I'm not here to cause fights. I've actually really appreciated, Todd, your friendliness, and thank you very much. And this is how we need to operate in local government. I'm ready to get to work. I'm really excited. I just became an empty nester a week ago today, and yeah, I'm sort of sad, but oh my gosh, all the energy I have and all the time I have, let's go. I will mow your park, okay? So even though I've been here a long time, I want to clarify, I don't know anybody favors. I'm not developing any land. I'm just here with sincerity, hard work, and you can trust me. You can come to me, anybody can come to me and talk to me. My door is always open, and I love to drink coffee, so. One of the main things that we didn't get to talk about tonight that I think is really important outside of the comprehensive planning and getting a grant writer is the things we can do as commissioners on state and federal levels and working with other counties and their commissioners. The landfill is a prime example. We have lost 2 major landfill contracts. That is 3 major landfill contracts that has really hurt our county. And I look forward to these training sessions if I get elected, where I can build relationships with other county commissioners, where we can take their garbage, give me your garbage. I mean, funny to ask for it, but like, we want that garbage. And I'm confident that I can go to Olympia or Washington, D.C. and be received well and feel confident in my conversations to bring resources back to our county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Here you go, Amanda. These are the ones that were not asked that were just about you. What I'm also doing is I gave them theirs.
Those are the everybody ones.
Those are the everybody.
It's the whole group.
Yeah, those are the old group questions. And what I'm going to do with that for them, I'm going to take pictures of all of the ones that we didn't get into and send it to them so they can see what the questions that you were asking about. So yeah, I just got their, well, I don't have Ron's. Can you have Ron put his email on there? So anyway, again, that takes care of our candidates night. We really appreciate you being here and asking the important questions. And I hope you were okay with it. I do want to thank the Dallesport Murdoch Community Center members, because I think you guys all did a wonderful job, and I appreciate you. And again, thanks for coming. I'm going to ask. I was going to ask them, can you stay around a little bit and just answer questions if somebody comes up to you guys?
Absolutely.
I know you have a few minutes.
I can give you a few minutes if Teresa will let me get a word in edgewise.
Well, I don't know. Well, her paddles are down, so we're good. Yeah.
This is just one-on-one.
So anyway, their stuff will be back there, or you can ask them, but they'll be around if you want to ask questions. So thank you again for coming.
I'll be by the snickerdoodle cookies.
No, those are mine.
Here's more cookies.